Let's move straight on to Wall Street because a U.S. e-commerce giant, Amazon, raked in more than $100 billion in revenue, but the company says that's not enough. So what more does Amazon want as an Amazon? Here's my colleague, Andrew Schmertz in New York. TGIF to you, Andrew. When an Amazon seems not to have enough, what else does it want? Let's get to that in a minute. But first, inflation is king. Let's come there. It's hotter than it has been since 1991. How are the markets reacting today?
Yeah, good Friday, sir. One of the gauges that the Federal Reserve watches to measure inflation, an inflation index, rose at the fastest rate in 30 years. The Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index, the PECPI, I like to call it the PEPI. No one else really calls it that, but I'll call it that, rose 3.5%. That is the fastest pace it has gone in 30 years. So inflation is currently running very hot. The Fed knows this, but they say this is a transient, temporary situation. But we'll really know more when the supply chains kind of ease and that gets back into whack. When that happens and the prices moderate, the Fed will be right in its call. But if the prices don't moderate, then we may have some issues and the Fed will have to take some more action. Also, American consumers increased their spending by 1% in June. That's a turnaround from May. That follows small gains in personal income, which just ticked up about 0.1%. Overall, on this last trading day in July, the markets are in the red across the board, with the NASDAQ falling by about 200 points, the Dow down about 200 points as well, S&P 500 also off. So a down day for the market after a pretty solid trading week for Wall Street.
Yes, and with those earnings as well, I was just surprised where the sentiment got balked somewhere in the week. But let's talk about Amazon because the earnings season is here with $113 billion in KT in revenue. But Amazon says that's not enough. So what does it want?
Well, it wants what Wall Street wants, which is to hit the earnings targets. Amazon did earn $113 billion in revenue. That's the third straight quarter of $100 billion or more for the e-retailer giant. But only with Amazon is that number not big enough. It missed the estimates by about $2 billion. It also, and this is key, gave weaker than expected outlooks for the third and fourth quarters. That relates to simply tough comps. Amazon did extremely well last year when everybody was home and ordering products. You had nothing else to do. You sat on your computer and say, kind of want that, I'll order it. So Amazon did very well. So this is kind of comparable issue that this quarter is not going to be as good as the same quarter last year, but these earnings are still a blowout number. But Wall Street less than impressed, the stock falling both yesterday and today.
Let's get on into other earnings this time from the oil giants, Exxon Mobil and Chevron. Oil prices rebounding from pandemic lows. What does this mean for the future of energy prices?
Yeah, I think that energy prices are probably only headed up. Exxon Mobil and Chevron both reporting very strong earnings, reported profits for the second straight quarter as higher demand for petroleum products and a jump in oil and gas products as well. It's not just about oil and gas because petroleum obviously goes into almost everything we use. Plastic bags, for example, made from petroleum. When you travel, you're burning up rubber, your rubber tires made out of petroleum. And as we know, there's a lot of cars being sold, even though there's a supply chain problem with cars. So all of this is helping the energy companies because they have reported, very solid earnings. Now, this time last year, they were disastrous earnings. They lost something like $6 billion in a quarter for Exxon Mobil, and that was a result of the oil prices falling into negative territory for a short time. So this is a case where the comps are better. We talked about Amazon and the comps from last year being worse. This is a case where the comps are easier because oil was trading in negative territory. You can't really do much worse than that, and doing better now this time around. The key question, however, is will this continue, and this goes to inflationary pressures because gas prices, I've said it before, are a tax, a regressive tax on all Americans, because even if you don't drive, you get a lot of packages, you get deliveries, and those are often driven by trucks, and all those prices will help create a rise in prices across the board.
Yes. It's a Friday, so it's time for some movies to just lay back a little bit and forget about the stock markets and all of that. So talk about the Black Widow. I haven't seen that already because what is this fight between the Black Widow and Disney? That's Scarlett Johansson, by the way. Was she the Black Widow in the movie?
Yeah, she does. So Scarlett Johansson sued Disney over the distribution of her movie Black Widow because Disney, released the film on streaming services first on Disney Plus and did not, just release it in the movie theaters. Johansson says part of her compensation, a large part of her compensation, is based on box office money. Well, Disney today responded and they did not hold their punches. They said, quote, "There is no merit whatsoever to the filing. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic." So Scarlett Johansson getting slapped around by Disney today over the movie Black Widow and her lawsuit. But it is a valid point, I think, that Johansson has. If that was her compensation, it was shot, the movie was supposed to be released in 2019, by the way, before the pandemic. If that was supposed to be her compensation, they're going to have to rethink those numbers.
Yeah, a contract is a contract. If you're not going to honor it, you got to go back to the table and say, look, times have changed. So, but if you don't do that, then, well, I'm sure the law is there to sort it out. Let's just watch the movie, enjoy it. Then, of course, they can sort it out at the courts. Whichever way, they're both making money, both Disney and Scarlett Johansson, by the way. My job is to enjoy the movie. Because I'm paying, by the way. Okay, so have a great day on Wall Street. Enjoy your weekend. See you in August.